to sell yourself. Yes, nobody is going to do this thing for you. You need to sell yourself. You need to laud these achievements. Let it be captivating, let it be catching, let it be engaging, let it be enticing. You don't need to state it. Don't shoot yourself on the leg. In case you are also trying to apply for a business analyst role here in UK, or maybe project management, see, this video is for you. Come, let me show you how to create CV in the UK format so that you can get calls for the interview and ace it, make the money. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Opeyemi, and in today's video we are going to be talking about how to create a compelling CV in the UK format for UK jobs. So for people who are applying for jobs in UK, there's a kind of expectation to write their CV, and this is what I'm going to be talking about today. So my time of staying here, so I've applied to several companies searching for jobs, and I've also opted for 2 other companies to help me to create my CV in a format that is related to the UK standard. Let's get right into the business. And the first thing, when you're talking about creating your CV, so I'll just be talking about the structures generally before we dive in, using the example like a template that you can always use. I'm also going to drop a link of the templates in the description below, so you can also get that and use that to draft your own particular CV. Another thing I want to tell you is ChatGPT. Hey, see, if you have not used this thing, this is one thing that can really help you to draft your CV in a very good, very creative, very 100%. Meanwhile, there are some mistakes that people make while using ChatGPT. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to combine this video together, but let me just take it one step at a time and let's see how it goes. First thing, talking about how to create your CV, the first thing we talk about is the structure. So I know that most times we hear is that let it be in chronological order, let it be hybrid. Okay, I'm not going to say it is not correct. As much as it is chronological, also make sure it is functional. The meaning of functional is you are not just talking about your work history or things that you've done before. You are actually specifying, or you're more particular about your skills and qualifications. So that is what it means by being functional. So when they say is your CV functional, that is what it means. And when they say is your CV hybrid in nature, that means is it combination of both chronological and functional. Simple English, they want to scatter our head. Okay, so that being said, now let's move on to the next thing. How should your CV be? The next point is keep it concise. Okay, so for people who do not have 10 to 15 years of working experience, your CV should be about 2 pages thereabouts. 2 pages is enough to communicate all of your experiences, your skills, and your qualification. Because the thing about HR these days, I don't want to be true. Let your CV be something that is very concise. It is short. You can condense everything, and at a glance they can see all that you've accomplished. Now let's move to the next point, something similar to being concise. I'm going to talk about the fonts and highlighting the bigger parts. So if you see a CV is structured, some parts are in bold. Maybe your name can be in bold. The headings should be in bold. So when you're talking about your professional summary, when you're talking about your experience, when you're talking about your skills, all those headings should be in bold format so that at a glance they can easily scan through. Another point is tailor your CV to the specific job that you're trying to apply for. So in this video I'm going to be tailoring this CV to a business analyst role. So if you are still interested in business analyst role, please wait till the very end. The next thing is avoid gaps, especially in UK or in Nigeria, that you can have gaps and nobody's really questioning you. So here, when you have gaps about your job role, they question it okay, what was happening, what were you doing? In order to avoid all those questions, avoid creating gaps in your CV. Now to the question, what if there was an actual gap in your CV? What should you do? Yes, I'm going there. So if there's an actual gap in your CV, you're very sure that it wasn't that you were completely doing nothing at this time. So probably you volunteer at a place, probably you are working somewhere. You can put that in the volunteer experience, so it can easily cover up for the gaps that you've stated in the job experience. Is that you avoid it, or you find a means to explain this. And if you're not able to, then the last result is you wait till the interview time where they get to ask you, and make sure you have your prepared answers for reasons why there is gap or there are gaps in your job experience. Okay, so now let's move on to the next one. Now, talking about the design and layouts, make sure that the font size is very, very good. Make sure it is easy to read. Let the design be very good. You don't have to use too much colors. Just use something that is very cool and it's easy to read. And you don't have to like make the font so big, like maybe 13, 14. No, it's just too big. Let the font be like 12 high, so that it is easy for anybody that is reading. Make sure it is well structured. And quickly, let's move on to proofreading. After you've written your CV, it is very, very important to proofread. You can even use Grammarly to make sure that you've corrected all your errors. So proofread. You can even give somebody to proofread for you. In case you don't have somebody, when you're done writing your CV, don't just send it out immediately. You can wait till like the following day. Try and read it again with a fresh eyes. This will help you to be able to point out to any mistakes or any error or even additional things that you need to add to it. Another thing is avoid cliches. It is very, very common. I'm an hard worker, I'm diligent, I'm a team player. Please avoid cliches. I'm going to talk more about this when I'm talking about the skills, how you should write your skills. Don't just write hard worker, team player. No, they expect much more. They want to see how you were able to do it. They want to see the moment you were able to do all of these things. So now that I've talked about like the summary, like how the CV should look like, so now let's move on to each of it step by step. The first thing is the contact information, your name. Quick hints that I got recently is that when you're writing your name, just give it an instance from where I'm from. People from Nigeria coming to UK and you have this very, very tedious like long name. And try your best to shorten the name so that it is easy for the person that wants to employ you. So let me give you an instance. My name is Opeyemi and my middle name maybe Olorunjurotimi, and maybe my surname is now Yolemi. Do you get? So for that, it is actually a kind of very long name. So what I will do is just make sure I just write Opeyemi, then I write my surname Yolemi. So the summary of this is it is better you write your first name and your last name alone. You really do not need your middle name in your CV because it's actually very difficult for these people to pronounce it. So it's a psychology thing for them that when they see your name, they get this like additionally they really want to employ someone that their name will be difficult to pronounce. And you know UK with this identification thing, they have is, she, him, and all of that. They're trying to be very careful. So people try to be very careful when dealing with people's names and identity. And if your first name is this type that is very, very, very long, you can just put like the short form there so it is easy for them to pronounce. So this CV is not like something that they're going to document for you like all your personal destiny. It's just for them to get you the job. The thing I'm talking about under the contact information, after you've written your name is a phone number. Make sure you put your phone number because this is how they are going to reach out to you. And aside that, also put your email contact. And I've talked about email contact. Please don't put opeyemi@yahoo.com. No, please, no sexy, no romantic, no beautyqueen.w.com. No, for a very professional job, please, it's actually recommended that you use your first name dot your surname at gmail.com or at whatever.com that you want to use. That being said, moving on to the next one in the contact information is your address. When you're talking about your address, you don't need to write the full address. So you should write number 54 Adepeke Street, Olorunshikini Kokinikon, that. So you just need to write probably the area where your house is located. So you are staying in Hilton, just write Hilton, London. Just that is enough. Okay, so another one that you can include is not a must, but if you are the type that is very like vibrant on LinkedIn and you have a good profile on LinkedIn, which is very encouraging, and you also post things on LinkedIn, like your LinkedIn account is very active, try and put your link to your LinkedIn profile there so they can easily get there and see you there. But if you know that your LinkedIn is nothing to write them about, please take it off. There is no point putting it there except it is required. Okay, so now moving on from the contact information. Please, one of the don'ts about contact information or about your personal information is you are not required to put your marital status, you're not required to put your age. If it is not stated that, okay, put your age, please do not bother to put your age. Don't bother to put the country you are from. So say you are from Nigeria, you don't need to state it. Don't shoot yourself. on the leg, it is not needed. Only those things I've mentioned are the things that you should put in the contact information. Any other thing that you might be thinking of at this time is not necessary. Thank you. So now let's move on to the professional summary. Talking about the professional summary, this is very good. It's something I honestly don't really do before. So immediately after my contact information, I just move on to the experience. But professional summary gives a kind of intro or elevator speed, elevating, is it elevator? Elevation. That speech. I think it's elevator. That elevator speech about you, that it actually sells you. It's like the first thing they are looking at. It's very good for you to write this thing. But when you're writing it, please make sure it's not too long. It's talking about your skills. It's talking about your qualifications. It's talking about things that you've achieved. So let it be captivating. Let it be catching. Let it be engaging. Let it be enticing. Okay, so I'll just read the one I have in the template for you. 10 years of proven success in driving business growth through strategic analysis, process optimization, and effective implementation. Adept at gathering and translating complex business requirements into actionable insight. A strong ability to bridge communication gap with technical and non-technical stakeholders, seeking to contribute expertise in your area of specification to a dynamic team. This particular summary was actually crafted from ChatGPT, so pardon me for that, but I mean something very, 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 very nice. You can craft that out yourself. Moving on to the professional experience, one thing I know is some people prefer to put their education before their professional experience. So they ask us, some people ask this question, what should I put first, my education or my experience? Okay, so there is no rule of thumb for this. It actually depends on the kind of job you are applying for. So if you're applying for a job that is more related to your professional experience, I would suggest you put your professional experience first. But if you're applying for a job that it is more related to what you studied in school, I would suggest you put whatever you have studied in school first, because this is something that is showing that okay, you have a knowledge in this particular area of field or of career. So anything that is really speaking more about the job you are applying for should come first. But generally for me, or most times, people put the professional experience first and the education comes behind. Now I'll be talking about the professional experience. When you're talking about your professional experience, make sure that they are in bullet points, and when you are doing your bullet points, make sure they are in systematic order, like the bullet points are of the same style. When you are doing this, you're not talking about your work history, like okay, day to day, not like I attend to customers on daily basis, I reach out to people when they are in need. No, that is not the kind of experience they want. They want to see what exactly you did, how you did it, what you were able to achieve doing this. Imagine me saying that I analyze data trends to drive informed decision making and strategic planning, increasing operational effectiveness by 65%. You know, I don't know if you're getting it. It's giving this, it's giving this bossy vibe. It's giving this like you know what you are doing kind of vibe. So you have to be very, very deliberate when you're talking about your experience. Make sure you say the things that you've done, the things you've achieved, and when you are doing this, try to quantify it. I know sometimes it is difficult for us to quantify our efforts, but we know we actually did this. So just use it, just calculate it in your head. Okay, when you're able to do this, how well was the company able to improve that particular year? What was the improvement rate like? So you just quantify that. Okay, it's improved by 65%. There was 120% increase in the profit. You know, you got to sell yourself. Oh yes, nobody is going to do this thing for you. You need to loud this achievement. You really need to do this. So now, after talking about your professional experience, it can be more than one. Of course, it should be. Then the next thing you do is to move on to probably your voluntary experience. So you talk about this thing, what you're able to achieve, how you're able to achieve that. And moving on from that, then you can go on to your skills. Talking about your skills, instead of saying, okay, I'm hard worker, team player, you can put it in sentence and just write something like ability to speak persuasively and write in a concise manner, a good teacher, coach, able to motivate, impart skills and competency in others. It doesn't have to be very, very complicated. You don't have to like put it in sentence, make it look beautiful, and don't make it just look very generic and all of that. So I'm trying to check my system for an example for you. And after talking about the skills, depending on the kind of job you're trying to apply for, if you maybe you have like technologies that, so if you have like if you have technologies that are required for this particular job role, so you can separate it. You can write technology separately and write skills separately if you don't want to combine it. Then you can write proficiency in using Jira, MS Project, Excel, Agile methodologies, Fresh Decks, etc. Do you know the reason why it is very good that you write all of this technology inside? Because sometimes some of these people, they use they use the ATS to scan through the CV, and that is why sometimes you just realize that immediately you submit your CV, 1 second later it is saying rejected. Nobody has even checked this. What is happening? So these are the reasons why you need to put in all the necessary things that are in the job description inside your CV, to make sure that even if it is robots that is reading it, they are seeing it clearly. After the technologies, then in case if you have certifications you've done that are related to this particular job role, please add them to it. These are the things that makes your CV to stand uniquely above others. And then after that, now move on to the education part, where you talk about what maybe you've had your master's degree, maybe it is ongoing. You can just write your MSc in business ongoing. Then if you have your BSc completed in business, you can just write BSc in business analyst, and you put it. Then you can write the year that you've completed this. See, you don't need to be putting WAEC results, best in. I did this a lot actually, because of course we had a good grade in our WAEC, we have distinctions, we need to put this thing. But if you're applying for UK jobs, they don't need it because it is irrelevant to them. So you need to put things that are more relevant. So just stop at your BSc or your MSc. That is that about it. Moving on, in case you have reference, it is not compulsory you add a reference, so you can always put available on request. Talking about hobbies, I'm actually very skeptical about this. Some people say it helps them to get jobs, but I think professionally you might not need to put it, except your hobby might eventually help you to get a way into the job. But this is just personal perspective. I think it is not so important, so you can decide to ignore it. Okay, so having said all of that, now see a preview of the kind of CV that ChatGPT has done for us. So I hope you are able to learn one or two from this video on how to create CV in the UK format. See, this is what they want. This is what they gave me. So I'm like, okay, it's not so different from what I used to know, but they're just a little bit of tiny information you need to pay attention to. And I hope at the end of this video, you pay attention to them, you check your CV, you cross all the T's, dot all the I's, and start pushing them forward for all those job applications. And I'm sure we're going to get a good result. All right, thank you so much for joining today. I hope to see you again next time. Bye.